Are you looking to fine-tune? Whether for your business, your job, your team, or yourself. In each episode, we will be discussing different ideas and opinions using real-world examples to help you see opportunities, innovate, and succeed. Hi, it's Corby Fine, and welcome to Fine Tune. As many of us try and figure out how to work from home, there's a lot of questions we have, and one of the big ones is, what is it that keeps you motivated? When you go into the office, there's always people, tasks, meetings, coffee machines, conversations about last night or the weekend. But now that we sit in our home offices, our living rooms, our bedrooms, and try and accomplish the same things, are there any particular needs that we each have as individuals to drive the same motivation as being in the environment of our coworkers? So to help answer that question, I recently took to my social media profiles and asked, what is your number one tip for staying motivated while working from home? I had a ton of responses. Some interesting, some, well, not so interesting. Things like Nespresso and Spotify, preferably very loud. Looking forward to a nice glass of whatever your favorite drink happens to be, preferably at the end of the workday. Knowing that I have to provide for my team and my client's team keeps me motivated. One common theme happened to be about taking care of yourself. Comments like, I start my day by meditating for 20 minutes and then think about everything that I'm grateful for, were quite common. Others who've been working at home for quite some time, even in advance of the current pandemic, had things to say like, keep doing what you're doing, or I've worked from home for the last 5 years, as all of my team does, and what motivates me is knowing that what I do means jobs for my team. It helps my clients drive revenue, and it's a great example of a good work ethic for my 5 older children. But rather than try and answer the question myself, and through reading through all of my social media comments, I decided I'd ask a few people in different industries and across North America for how they're handling the current situation of working from home, keeping motivated for themselves and for their teams. The panel today includes 5 individuals. Alex Panousis, the CEO of Cara, a very large media buying agency. Gabe Dunlop, the Chief Marketing Officer for Dipley.com. Mark Jordan, who most recently was the VP of Brand Strategy and Chief Communications Officer for Kids Help Phone. Daniela Diggy, a director at CIBC in the Analytics Innovation Program environment. And Loveleen Sidhu, who is the co-founder and CEO of Bank Mobile. First off, I asked each of them to introduce themselves and what they do with their organizations. Alex?
So I am the very new CEO of one of the largest media agencies in Canada, Cara, part of the Dentsu Aegis family, day 14 on the job. So I actually joined in the middle of COVID. I'm also, which is, interesting. I think we can talk about that more. I'm also the host of a tech forum in Toronto called Marketing Tech TO, part of the Tech TO family. I teach at Humber and at U of T, and I do what I can to keep everyone motivated and excited about this crazy world of advertising and media.
And Gabe?
Sure. Dipley is a .com, so we're at Dipley.com. We're a content publishing company, so we specialize in social entertainment. The corporate plug would be, between 1 and 2 million visitors a day come and hang out with us. We're publishing content that's pretty fun. So it's mostly levity, articles about, glamping or getting together with your friends, weird and wacky products that are brought to the internet. The kooky and zany stuff that you want to share with your friends and talk about is kind of our specialty. If you shared a link with your friend in the last 30 days, we like to think that it may have been a Dipley link or a story from us, because what we create are probably some of the most shareable, interesting, wild and crazy stories out there on the web today. So that's kind of our jam.
Daniela, how about you?
Absolutely. So I work with data and analytics. Primary focus is delivering and enabling projects to deliver data and analytics strategy. A few of those projects are related to um, delivering cloud computing, for example, and enabling a lot of the platforms and infrastructure for business intelligence as well as data science from AI and machine learning.
And Loveleen, over to you.
Great. Hey, Corby. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me. So I'm Loveleen Sidhu, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Bank Mobile. We're one of the largest and fastest growing digital banks in the country, and really came into being 5.5 years ago now to really address the fact that consumer needs and behaviors just weren't being met adequately by banks. And we wanted to provide a better experience around affordability, transparency, consumer-friendly products. So that's who we are, and excited to be here. Thanks.
As for Mark, as he's in between jobs, I left the intro out. So the first question I posed to the panel was basically the same that I had put on my social media platforms. What is your number one tip for staying motivated while working at home?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, look, this is an unusual time. It's not like I have a recipe for success here. What I try to do every single day is do something creative, do something where I'm learning, do something where I'm contributing, and then trying to work as best we can. I think the kind of I don't know, finding meaning in this whole sort of crazy journey of COVID. I think it's a great time to just sort of take a look at yourself, take a look at what makes you happy and makes you passionate, and try to add a little bit of that every single day.
And Mark?
Well, first of all, I would say I don't know if anyone's got the secret sauce. I would say number one tip is to be kind to yourself. So, from a mindset perspective, these are not normal times. I know a lot of people are setting hard agendas and schedules, and that's great. Everyone's got their own way of managing. For me personally, I find trying to keep somewhat of a schedule. So I know we joke, there's only 3 days these days, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. But I try to work in a way that still, makes a delineation between the work day and the weekend. And even during the work day, I try to work in 45-minute bursts, and then take breaks. So that might be, walking our dog or working on a puzzle with our daughters, just taking those mental breaks during the day and not feeling like you've got to push yourself through the day, because again, these are not normal times, and we're all feeling, I think, additional pressures and anxiety because of the situation we're in right now. So be kind to yourself.
Daniela had an interesting take on all of the constituents that we need to think about while working from home.
That's a great question. And as you mentioned, lots of communication and working with the team. And in thinking about this, I found that I'm motivated by people. So people being our clients, my team members, and my family.
How about you, Gabe?
I kind of break the thinking into a few quadrants, man. It's like, if you're a leader and you're employed right now, keep doing your damn job. Okay. So that means like, keep making decisions, keep supporting your people, be accountable, hold others accountable. Nobody gets a break because we're in a disaster per se on doing their job. Everyone has to do their job right now. And like, invest back in everything that makes your company a great place to work for. So if you're a leader, that's a very easy reason to get out of bed in the morning and like do your damn job. If you're not a leader, if you're a team member and like staying motivated, it's like, keep delivering, be on top of your shit, be on top of your game, bring your A game right now, be engaged. We need you to be engaged and stay engaged, to like be interested in the work you're doing, advocate for yourself. Nobody knows what you're dealing with at home. Like I can't like wave a magic wand and just see into your house. Like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know how hard it is. I don't know if you have somebody sick at home with you. So tell us, advocate. And then there's the unemployed, like what are you doing to stay motivated if you don't have work right now? If you've been laid off or furloughed or whatever situation you're up against. So there's a few of my friends who are in this boat, man. And it's like, you can still work on your career even if you're not working.
And what did Loveleen have to say?
So one good thing is that work is actually more busy than usual. So I think, the busyness of the day creates structure because how else are you going to get it done? So weirdly, I'm very grateful that work is busy. Secondly, I start every single day with meditation and with breathing. It's, this was not just something I started during the pandemic. It's something that's just a routine and foundation in my life. And that helps me stay calm, focused, and intentional for my day.
So overall, some really good tips and thoughts there from my panel. The next question I posed to them had more to do with the separation of all of the things going on while working at home. Family, kids, pets, plants. Each one of us has so many things to take care of, and yet we're expected to focus on our jobs, mostly from 9 to 5. So the question I asked was, how do you separate all of those things? Loveleen, why don't we start with you?
So one thing I'm grateful for is that I have a nook here. It's actually the bedroom that I grew up in. I'm back at home, as I think a lot of people are going back to their family homes, if to get out of places like New York, which is what I've done. And so I have my own nook here that I've created with my desk space, good lighting, and I make it comfortable. So I have a candle here. I have a pillow for my back. And so I make it, I've made it my place to get my work done and to be happy and comfortable. And, it's a good time to also have family time where we have a central area in the house, the kitchen. That's usually where we have my brother's kids running around. And it's really good to get the social interaction and the family time. We all have dinner together. So I would say just the structure of the home and the place that I found a nook in, has really helped me create the I guess you could say the between the work and the space and creating that divide.
Gabe had an interesting spin on my question. He turned the word separation into integration and went as far as talking about integrating his day working along with his Viking and hippie kids.
I would actually say it's not separated. So I saw this question you were talking about it earlier when we were getting ready, and I made a couple notes. But the idea of separation doesn't exist, and it's actually never existed. And anybody who subscribes to this business of it's about balance, that's bullshit. I don't believe in it. It's never worked for me at all ever in my career. It's actually about integration. So like all these factors are going to be there when you wake up in the morning every day, whether we're working from home or whether we're working from the office or working remotely or working in a different country based on work travel or whatever. So the separation has never existed. It's about integration. How do you have it all? And like anybody who comes at it from a different lens right now is probably feeling just like unnecessary stress. Like, why would you put the stress on yourself to be like, I got to perfect this thing and it's got to come out like ideal? That's just like, it's silly. Like it's undue. Like, don't do that to yourself. So the separation doesn't exist in my house. I'm at home with the two kids. So I've got two girls, Avery and Haley, aged 8 and 5. So they're crazy. So Haley's a Viking. She's a Viking spirit. She'll burn your village and steal your sheep just for the hell of it. She's crazy. That's the 5-year-old. And the 8-year-old's a hippie. She just wants everyone to get along. So there's that yin and yang in my house that's going on. And then I've got this 85-pound black lab named Eleanor. And Eleanor is a love machine and a food machine. She likes to eat and love. That's her jam. She's from the 70s. And there's no separation. So like I'm on video calls and that's the only like almost exclusive time that Nora wants to come and play rope tug. And my two daughters, like they video bomb at least once a day. Like it's at least a daily thing.
And what about Alex?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. I find that 8 hours, 10 hours of virtual Zoom meetings or Squadcast or Hopin or whatever the Teams platforms is exhausting. So there is this sort of it's not an expectation, but I think that the always on kind of that we are going to kind of get some burnout from that. How do I separate it? Look, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't. I think the hard part is, and I really empathize with young families and young mothers and young fathers that have kids in the house. And, my recommendation there is like, you have to just book in breaks. Like you have to book. If you're home with your kid doesn't understand that, you've got an 8-hour day. Like, you've got to sort of, take that pause. So look, I mean, I try, I'm not perfect. And I know it's hard with social distancing, but, I try to, do a yoga class a night. I try to do a long walk every day or a run. Yeah. So, again, like all the things that everyone's just trying to do to get through this.
And Daniela?
So I don't think I have the luxury of separating it all, because I have 2 young children and they can be quite egocentric. So their needs are first. And sometimes even when I'm doing work or I'm on a call, it doesn't matter because they'll keep going until I turn my attention to them. So right now it's fluid. Um, I've had my daughter sit on my lap while I work. I'll squeeze in a run between meetings and end up starting the next one while I finish that last kilometer, for example. I'll do meal prep while on a conference call. And then I help with school lessons for my older one, sprinkled throughout the day. But as I said, in this situation, it was kind of sudden and there's a lot of urgency going on. And I've been much more reactive than I'd care to admit. And I recognize I probably need to create a few new routines and habits to be much more intentional, as the systems I had in place before we started working from home aren't necessarily applicable or even available to me now.
My third and final question to the panel is a pretty basic one. What's the one thing that you miss most about being in the office, and how, if even possible, do you replicate it at home? Let's start with Mark on this one.
Yeah, I think the number one thing that I miss is team and being around team. And it's that physical, it's one thing to be on a Zoom call. It doesn't replace actually being in a physical room with people. So I miss that interaction that, I love to go to events. I love to, like I said before, if I don't have 3 or 4 coffee meetings scheduled with people in my network during the week, I start to get antsy. It's those real moments that I think I miss the most. And while connecting and staying connected through digital means is one way to try and bridge that gap, I'm still feeling it doesn't completely close the gap for me. So some of the ways I've tried to manage that again is having those real world experiences with as many people as you can. Predominantly, obviously, my family, who I am physically distancing with right now. But even going outside for walks and things like that to be able to see people. I think the disconnection from real world is one of the things that I've definitely felt the most struggle with.
And how about you, Daniela?
I miss going in and everything that meant for me. So seeing my team and the impromptu conversations that would result from that, having a physical cue to my workday, so where it would mostly start and end with me coming into the office and then leaving the office, um, being able to do it all without worrying about what my children need in that specific moment, because I knew they were being cared for, either at school or um, in the after school program. So to try and replicate some of this at home, I'm still meeting with my teams regularly as groups and individually. Though it's planned rather than impromptu, I still think having that personal connection is really important. I now start and end each day by setting up and tearing down my workstation, since it's in my children's bedroom. So that kind of gives me that coming into the office and leaving the office at the start and end of each day. Uh, but the part about my children, I think the solution now is that it's just going to overlap and I'll have to figure out how to intertwine and make it all work throughout the day.
And Loveleen, who runs a digital bank, what do you miss the most?
Yeah, I think, it's the social interaction. There's nothing like human interaction. There's so many conversations going on right now about dating as well, where again, human interaction is so important for human beings. And whether that's a leader and being able to interact with your teams, the same thing happens. I really miss my team and having that face to face. Obviously, we've all heard about the Zooms and the WebExes and the Microsoft Teams, and we found ways to work around it, and virtual happy hours, and to even use some of these technologies to create human interaction beyond just work. And so that's been interesting transition for us, and something that we're utilizing that technology to help, in some way replicate that human interaction that's been lost.
And Alex?
So, look, I'm a big communicator. I tend to like, my old job at Havas, I sat in an open concept area so I could hear and see everyone and I could check in daily. I miss that. I've had a lot of like town halls or virtual meetings. And the hard part there is not seeing the nuance of being able to look in someone's eyes and like really see, like, are they getting it? Do they feel that I'm authentic? Am I coming through the way I want to be? And so I think, the only advice I have is I sometimes think leaders do lots of talking. It's like, now's the pause to say, hey, Corby, what's your question? Like literally pull it out and just stop talking and wait for you to say something. And then try to kind of gauge that reaction so that you're actually having a dialogue versus a monologue. And I think it's really important to pull out, particularly if you have organizations like we all do, where there are some extroverts that are just kind of, constantly doing that. And then there are introverts that aren't necessarily as comfortable, especially with a new leader in a virtual environment.
And finally, over to Gabe.
Yeah, like I miss our team. We've got, I know a lot of people would say this, or maybe they wouldn't, I don't know. But speaking from the heart, like we got a kick-ass crew that we've curated over the last 15 months, 16 months. They're like super smart, caring, inventive, interesting, fun, and I don't get to spend time with these guys now. Like I get to do it over video, but it's not the same. Like when it's someone's birthday and we say, we're going to put down work at 4:00 and go for a quick beer, or like go to a trivia night or something together. It's the silly things that make that culture fun to be around, I find, and totally miss those times, man. Like it's hard to replace people with a screen. It just is.
So I decided to end the interviews with a few rapid fire questions. The kinds of questions that might pull a little bit of personal information from each of my interviewees. And in full transparency, I did give them the opportunity to plead the fifth if they chose not to answer. Here goes. Question 1. What's your favorite snack while working at home?
That's an easy one. I would say guacamole toast with cherry tomatoes.
Yogurt and granola.
Peanut butter filled pretzel bites.
So it's definitely a martini and my vodka in the evening. But I will tell you, the one thing that I'm doing is I am on this, this crazy kind of meal thing, trying to be like fat adapted. And right now I'm drinking a bulletproof coffee, which is MCT oil and butter in my coffee. I never ever thought I would do that, but I've been experimenting a little bit with food right now. So that's one thing I'm doing for sure.
I would say potato chips.
Next question. Have you taken a meeting without wearing any bottoms?
I have not, and I'll tell you why. And this is a true story. So I have the whitest and hairiest legs known to mankind. It's literally like cookie dough got dropped in a barber shop on a hot summer day. Like nobody needs to see that. So just the thought of anyone having to endure that visual, I'm fully panted at all times out of respect for others.
No way. Not worth the risk.
The still in a towel fresh out of the shower count?
Yeah, I read that question. If I did, I would never tell you. But look, no. No, I have not. For all of you that have that burning question, am I wearing pants? I am.
Oh, 100%. And I think anyone that says they haven't is lying to you. So,
next question. How many times in a day do you pull your phone out to play that quick game of Candy Crush or whatever your current vice happens to be?
Okay, my favorite vice has entirely shifted on my phone since all this has gone down. it's now Snapchat filters or lenses. And at least 3 times a day, I record myself in some other character. So I've gone through they've got a moose. You can be a talking moose. Snapchat also has a talking hot dog, which changes your voice. And most recently, a dancing bunny. And I've done them all. And that's easy. That's like mindless entertainment, but super good. Super good.
Mine's definitely Instagram. And I would say after every meeting, like a 30-second scroll. Bad habit.
So the current game is Scrabble. The other game I play is what else do I need to add to my grocery delivery cart? So I feel like I'm pulling my phone out at least 100 times a day to do that.
Oh my God, not Candy Crush, but I will tell you, I am obsessed with TikTok, like obsessed. I have literally done 2 or 3 hours in the evening nonstop, just like watching, 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 watching. And I think, it's interesting because it's created almost a, like, whatever. I'm in media. I look at stuff all the time and I'm always sort of interested to see what's new. But just as a human, as a person, I'm finding that stuff incredible, both as a distraction, but also just some levity, like something to just make me laugh.
Oh, good question. I would say because I'm on the phone or on a device most of the day, I'm not playing games on the phone. It's more, like I said, like puzzles and things like that to take my mind off things.
Almost done. Have you had a conference call follow you into the bathroom?
I have, sadly and awkwardly, yes. But totally to my defense, man, I think that day I was running like 5 back-to-back meetings, and I drink an obscene amount of water on just to like keep myself, hydrated and whatnot in the real world, which has since led to a new rule that Gabe needs 10 minutes between all meetings. So nobody booked me back to back anymore.
I have. That's so embarrassing. Oh God.
Well, my daughter sometimes need help in the bathroom and I'm on deck. So conference call or not, I've got to go. So yes.
Yeah, I have.
Not yet. Although I guess we're still early days, so let's see.
And my last question. What's the most embarrassing moment that you've had so far while working from home through this pandemic?
This is a hilarious question. Okay, so I have not said it. I can sum it up in one word, and that's the word bourbonite. And imagine you're spelling bourbon like urban, like city. So on like a weekend, a couple weeks ago, I was hanging out with my friends on a Zoom call. We were doing a bourbon tasting, and when I entered, on my phone, I put in the screen name Bourbonite, which was like, just me being a goofball. My friends, they all entered with funny names too, because they're a bunch of goofballs. And I'm the only guy in the city, so I am the urban guy. Everyone else is off in like the suburbs of the country. So then it comes to Monday, and I join my first meeting of the week on Zoom, and I'm rushing because the kids are like pushing me for something or other. And I join this call, and it's with 15 CEOs across the United States. And it's like, it's this project we're working on, and I've never met these people in my life. I'm joining for the first time ever, being introduced to the group as the marketing guy. And my screen name appears as Bourbonite, and my camera is off. So nobody knows who the hell I am. And they start seeing that there's this Bourbonite guy in the Zoom call, and they're like, "Who's Bourbonite? So I get called out for it, and then I turn on my camera, and I'm like, "It's me," and I tell them the quick story. It ends up turning into a hilarious discussion about bourbon, and honestly, man, I think everyone just needed a minute to laugh, so it was fine. But it was, for half a second, it was like, "Oh, are these guys going to be cool with this, or are they going to think that I'm a bozo?" For, I'm not drinking bourbon on this call with these guys, like.
Well, I've been good about turning the camera off and the speakers off at the appropriate time, so I've sort of saved myself from that. But one thing is, my brother, my dad, and me, we all work in similar parts of our business together. So what's weird is the professional setting, but sometimes it's like, Dad, join the call, and we're all like, in one house. So I think that sort of separation between work and family has become difficult to separate externally to those that we work with on a daily basis.
Probably more for my son than for me, but it was the first team video conference call or chat that I was having. And as I said, I'm working in my kid's bedroom. So he comes in and he whips off his shorts because he's changing into pants so he can go and play outside, and he has no idea what's going on with me and my team around him. So luckily he's not old enough that it would bother him too much.
Embarrassing moments, yeah, getting people's names wrong, forgetting things, I don't know, like talking when there's no sound and not realizing until you're 5 minutes into a presentation that actually no one can hear me. So there's been a lot of those.
Most embarrassing moment. Well, I can think of a moment that just happened. So we're all on different devices here, and the kids are homeschooling. So I actually logged into a conference call as our daughter, and as I popped in, everyone was like, Sorry, Claire, who is this? So I think we're all dealing with those moments.
I'd like to thank all my panelists for being honest and open with their answers to those somewhat intimidating questions. So as you can see, there's really no single way to deal with the current situation of working from home. And the reality is you have to do what is good for you, your family, your company, your team. Thanks for listening, and enjoy working from home. You've been listening to Fine Tune. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can connect with me on Twitter @CFine, through LinkedIn @CorbyFine, or visit my website, corbyfine.com. Fine Tune is produced by me, Corby Fine. Thanks for listening.